All right, have a seat on your mat. Let's get nice and tuned in. So as you find a comfortable seat with an aligned spine, we just start drawing our attention inward. So we're always really, usually, very tuned into our external environment. And I want you to tune in now to your internal environment. So we just kind of start coming inward, feeling what's going on in our bodies. And then we even check in with our thoughts and our emotions. So as usual, just take a few slow, deep Ujjayi breaths and feel everything that's going on inside of you right now. And as you notice bodily sensations, mental fluctuations, anything happening emotionally or energetically, just decide what you would benefit from most from your practice today and use that information to set your personal intention, whatever that might be. Be clear about it though, because you can't get something if you don't even know what you want. So let's bring our palms together in front of our hearts. And just pause for a moment and be really clear about what you need from your practice. And take a deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth. Good. Relax your arms. Roll your shoulders back a couple of times. And just transition onto your hands and knees. We'll just kind of loosen up the spine a tiny bit. So arching and rounding in cat-cows, just inhaling to arch and exhaling to round. Feel free to do a little lateral movement if you like. And then let's just take our first downward facing dog. So I want you to go ahead and do any little movements that you need to do. Consider pedaling the feet a little bit. Whatever easing into down dog your body requires. But then once you get there, we're going to really be focusing on the back of the legs. Today, the hamstrings. So I want you to press those hips way back. Think about poking your tailbone up towards the ceiling and start pressing the heels down. So you're not that warm yet. Just notice how the back side of your legs feels right now. And then you can go ahead and walk your feet forward. Keep your knees bent. And just hang with a very relaxed neck in ragdoll. So that first down dog, we're just going to kind of use that for comparison purposes. Later on, your down dog should feel pretty different. Take one or two more breaths here, just dangling in ragdoll. And then inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead, stretch them. Exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. As you exhale, go ahead and fold forward. Get those fingertips all the way down, even if you need to bend your knees. And then look up and lengthen. And back down. We're going to step back with the left leg. Nice deep lunge. And then go ahead and drop your left knee down. Let's start by opening up the front of the left hip. So bring the arms up and overhead. You're just going to kind of tuck your tailbone under. Sink your hips forward a little. Just let them start to move forward. You're just easing into this. We'll take our time with everything today. So really tuck the tailbone under and lift the rib cage as your hips move forward. And then bring the hands down on either side of your right foot. Remember, you can use a block or blocks if you need to. Extend your right leg, flexing the ankle and toes. And just take a couple of breaths here, saying hello again, in this case, to the right hamstring. And then I want you to bend your right knee and scoot your right foot forward quite a bit, keeping your right foot flat. So not sure if it's visible on camera, but if you look at me, I've got my hips sinking forward, but my knee is still behind my right foot. So you kind of want a pretty long step forward. Both hands are going to be inside the right foot. This is a good place to use your block if you need it. But we're going to come onto the left forearm, perhaps both, perhaps a block, perhaps neither. But the idea is this is a slightly elongated lizard pose. So your right leg is at an angle. In other words, your right foot is farther forward than your right knee. Take a couple of breaths here, and where you should feel this is, of course, that magic spot in the back of your right thigh, your right hamstring. And then what I'd like you to do is keep your right foot where it is. Come back up onto your hands. A lot of people love to scoot their foot back. Please don't. Just begin to extend the right leg. You can take your right hand back outside the leg. You can put your hands on blocks. But now you've got a more extended hamstring stretch. Flex the ankle and toes. Take a couple of breaths. And then finally, you can take that right knee back to meet your left knee, and let's take a child's pose. Forehead down, buns to heels, couple of deep breaths here. And then we're gonna scoot forward into Sphinx because it's always useful to lengthen the spine when we're doing anything with glutes or hamstrings. Honestly, it's useful to lengthen the spine when we're doing anything, period. So it's always a good place to start. Let's just lengthen for another breath or two here in Sphinx. And then after this, those of you that like to do traditional vinyasas, of course, you may take off and do those at any point. And now let's all move into downward facing dog. And I want you to really focus not only on pressing the tailbone back, but on pressing the heels down. It's very important that both actions are happening. If you're pushing your tailbone back, but you've got your heels up in the air, you're missing half of downward facing dog. Those heels move towards the ground. It doesn't matter if they get there or not, but they're moving in that direction. That's stretching out the backside of the body. Take a big step forward with your left foot. We're just going to hold our lunge here for a moment, just like we did on the other side. And then drop your right knee down. Let's take the arms up and overhead. We'll tilt the pelvis back, lift the rib cage, let the hips move forward, beginning to open up on the front of the right hip. And then let's take the hands down on either side of the left foot. Extend your left leg. So you're just rocking the hips back, flexing the ankle and toes. Remember, if you have a block, it's always okay to use that underneath the hand or hands, depending on whether you have one or two. So this is our first foray into this left hamstring. Take one more breath here. And then bend the left knee again and scoot your foot quite a bit farther forward with the foot still flat. So remember, on the first side, I asked you to get your knee behind your foot, or your foot farther forward than your knee, even with your hips sinking forward. That's the idea. Left hand is going to come down inside the left foot. See if you can get your right forearm either onto the floor or onto a block, and maybe even the left one for this nice elongated stance lizard. Take a couple of breaths. And you should be feeling this in your left hamstring, by the way, which I'm sure is no surprise to you. And then we're gonna keep our left foot here. Please resist the urge to pull it back. Don't do that. Just come up onto your hands. Begin to extend the left leg again, flexing the ankle and toes. Left hand can come back outside that left foot or ankle. And of course, you may use your blocks if you like. Heart pulls forward is just a more elongated hamstring stretch. Take one more big inhale and exhale here. And then we're just gonna step forward to our standing forward bend. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead, stretch. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Pause in your forward bend. So if you have a tendency to get your forward bend from the low back, we're going to change that and make sure we get it in the hamstrings. What I'd like you to do is bend your knees enough that you can get your torso onto your thighs. And once you do that, I want you to actually reach around behind your knees and clasp your elbows. So you're hugging your torso to your thighs. Then you're going to look up, and you're going to keep looking up. You'll notice that makes your back flat. So please don't look anywhere else other than up. Keep hugging your torso to your thighs and start to straighten the legs. That's going to change things a little bit. This forces the pelvis to tilt forward. If you keep your back flat, it keeps your back out of it. So now what's lengthening is just your hamstrings. Take one more breath here. And then release the hands down, look up and lengthen. And then all the way back down. Step back with your right foot. So you're in your lunge again. Gaze forward so your back is flat. And begin to extend your left leg. And if it doesn't go all the way straight, that's okay. We're just trying to get into that hamstring a little bit. So again, you're poking your tailbone towards the ceiling and looking forward. If you need to modify, please drop your right knee down. But if you can, for just 2 breaths, we're going to bend the left knee and bring the arms up and overhead and allow the hips to sink. We don't want to ignore the front of the right hip. Hands come back down, and you can either, vinyasa people, step back to plank. The rest of us are going to drop our right knee if it's not already there, and take the left knee back to meet it, and this would be your child's pose. So you can either do a vinyasa or do a slow flow with me. So if you're in child's pose, go ahead and scoot forward into either Sphinx or Cobra, whichever one feels better to you. And then we'll all meet up in downward facing dog. And I will keep reminding you to push through your palms, to press those hips back and push your heels down towards the mat. Take a big step forward with your right foot. So we're going to gaze forward to make sure our back is flat. Begin to straighten your right leg. Try and look forward. Try and poke your tailbone towards the ceiling. That helps lengthen that right hamstring. Again, if you need to modify, it's fine to drop the left knee down. Otherwise, just hold the high lunge and bring the arms up and overhead just for 2 breaths. Hands are gonna come back down and we step forward to our standing forward bend. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. So we're gonna step our left leg back and spin the heel flat, adjust the hips and the stance as necessary, and come into warrior one. So it's a right foot forward, warrior one. Left leg should be nice and straight with the heel flat. Hips are rotated so they square off at the front of the mat. Right knee is bent and the arms come up and overhead. Take a couple of breaths here, getting yourself really firmly rooted in the pose. Now we're going to straighten the right leg completely. Keep those hips rotated. I want you to hinge at your hips and lengthen your spine. And then let your hands come either to your right shin, to a block or blocks. Or if you prefer, you can take them all the way down to the floor. But try and keep your back flat here for a moment. On your next exhale, if it feels comfortable, you can curl down a little bit. Try and keep that right leg straight. Now, if you're using a block, I would love for you to put it right outside, on the outside edge of your right foot. If you're not using a block, you're going to put your left hand either on your right shin, on your foot, or outside of it. Please go in that direction. You don't want it over here on the inside. Lengthen your spine again. And I want you to just start rotating, taking right hand up towards the ceiling for a revolved triangle. Do the best you can. Remember, it's okay to use your block to put your left hand on. Take one more breath here. And then bring that right hand down. I want you to step straight back to downward facing dog. You're gonna have a lot of down dogs today. Poke your tailbone towards the ceiling, push the hips back, press your heels down. And by the way, your down dog should already be feeling quite different from that first one. Let's walk our feet forward. Standing forward bend. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Now we're going to step our right leg back. The foot is flat, hips rotate forward, left knee bends. Warrior one on your left side. Just take a moment and get really firmly rooted in the pose. Now you know why. So you want your hips squared off at the front of the mat if you can. Right leg is straight, left knee is bent. One more breath here. And then we're going to straighten the left leg. Hinge at your hips, lengthen your spine. So I want you to keep your back really long as you hinge out over your left leg. Hands are on your left shin. They can be on blocks. They can be on the floor. Whatever works for you. Try and keep that left leg straight. And then if you want to and it feels okay for a breath or two, you're welcome to just kind of drape over that left leg. And then we're going to lengthen the spine again. So if you're using a block, it needs to be outside the right foot. If you're not using a block, your right hand is either on the floor outside that left foot, or the right hand is on the left foot, or it's on your left shin. Keep your spine lengthened and begin to revolve, coming into your revolved triangle on the left. If you can, that left hand floats up towards the ceiling. Bring your left hand back down, step straight back, downward facing dog. Press those hips back. Now, from here, we're going to take a big step forward with our right foot. Everybody that has a healthy left knee, you're going to drop it down, but I know at least a couple of you in class today have tender knees. So here's the deal. Your modification is going to be to keep your leg off the ground and start scooting your right foot forward, and you can grab your blocks to put your hands on. Those of you who can are going to go ahead and drop your left knee down and scoot your right foot as far forward as you get it. Now, I like to get my foot off my mat because I like it to slide a little bit. You may not want that, and that's fine. And if you do have a block, I'm going to encourage you to have it near you. I'll put mine over here so you can see it. But initially, we're just going to lengthen this hamstring a little bit more. So this is actually sometimes called a half split or half Hanumanasana. You're going to inhale and flex the toes of your right foot back towards your shin. And as you exhale, you're going to push through the ball of the foot. Keep your toes active though, so it kind of looks like a high heel Barbie foot. Maybe slide the foot forward, maybe not. Inhale, flex the toes back, exhale, press. And we're going to do it one more time. Inhale, flex the foot back, exhale, and press. Now, if you feel like you can, and please pay attention to your body, use your block or blocks at whatever height you need to so that you can have them by your hips so that you can get vertical. Take a couple of breaths. So here's the secret for getting out of this. Bring your right hand inside your right leg. Swing it back. You'll be on hands and knees. Wag your tail, and then take a child's pose. And of course, those of you doing full-on vinyasas, off you go. The rest of us are going to move into child's pose. And then scoot forward into either Sphinx or Cobra. And then downward facing dog. Remember, on your down dog, don't just hang out. Let's really work on lengthening the spine and the hamstrings. All right, left foot steps forward. So again, depending upon your knees, if pressure on your right knee is a challenge, you scoot your left foot as far forward as you can, and you just stay here like in a high split. And that's good, right? But for those of you who can, you drop your right knee down and you slide that left foot forward so you start to feel something. And then let's work with our breath. We're going to inhale and flex the toes back towards the shin. Exhale, push through the ball of the foot, but keep your toes active. Maybe even slide the heel a little more. Inhale, flex back. Exhale, press forward. One more time, inhale, flex back, exhale, and press. And then grab your block if you're going to use it. Put it beside your hips so that you can be vertical. You want to have your shoulders kind of stacked over the hips, and then you're breathing. And your block can be at any height, by the way. All right, so here's your secret exit strategy. Left hand comes inside the left leg, and you just swing your left knee around to meet your right knee. Give yourself a little tail wag and take a much deserved child's pose. Forehead down, buns to heels. That should feel pretty good. Those of you taking regular vinyasas, you may take one because the rest of us are going to scoot forward and come into either Sphinx or Cobra. And then back into our downward facing dog, and you know what to do. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And then walk your feet forward to your standing forward bend. And then inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. All right, so what I'd like you to do next, be mindful of your balance, of course, but just step your left foot behind your right foot, and you want to have both feet flat. And then all I want you to do is hinge at your hips and come into a forward bend again. As much as you can, you want your legs straight. This is going to feel a little different. You'll feel it a little more intently on one side than the other. Take one more breath here. And then come back up. You can step your left foot out. Now we're going to step the right foot behind the left foot. So now your left leg is in front. Both feet are flat, by the way. You want to feel pretty balanced here. And then hinge at your hips. And fold forward. Try and have those legs straight. Remember to breathe. And then on your next inhale, come on back up, and you can step the legs apart. So next up, we're actually going to be doing a standing split. Now, don't let the name scare you. First of all, it might not look anything like a standing split. It certainly doesn't for me. It might look like it for you, but it won't for me. And then the other thing is it, it's not that big of a deal as far as balance goes, because not only is your foot on the ground, but you have two hands on the ground or on a block. Now, here's the deal. If you have very tight hamstrings, I'm going to encourage you to use a block if you've got one. And here's your placement of the block or the hands. And this is really important because a lot of people want to put their block way out so that they feel balanced, but there's nothing split-like about that. We want our torso to be up and down as much as possible and the other leg to be up and down as much as possible. So here's your spacing. If you're using a block, one edge literally touches your toes, all right? If you're not using a block, your thumbs are going to line up with your toes. So there is some balance involved. We're going to stand on our right foot first. So I'm going to go through this real slow. I'm not going to use a block for mine. You're welcome to. I'm going to make sure that my thumbs line up with my toes and I'm spreading my fingers so I've got a wider balance base. I'm going to try and keep my right leg really straight. I'm going to begin to extend my left leg behind me and start trying to stick it up in the air as I pull my face and my torso towards my right leg. Now, some of you guys will have the balance and the strength to actually grab your right heel with your right hand and pull your torso towards your right leg. But if you can't do that, don't worry about it. But the idea is you keep reaching that left leg for the ceiling. And then put it back down. Come up to standing and roll your shoulders back. Maybe that was a little exciting, but you lived through it. So let's do the other side. We're going to stand on the left leg. If you're holding your block, it needs to have one edge touching your toes, right? So you can't be in a down dog position standing split. You need to try and be vertical. If you're not using a block, your thumbs are lining up with the toes of your left foot. You're looking at your left shin. You're taking your right leg straight up and back, and you're trying to pull your torso towards your left leg while you continue to reach your right foot towards the ceiling. If you can grab your left heel with your left hand and pull the torso a little bit and help out. But the idea is that right leg continues to reach up, up, up. And then we bring the right leg back down, come on up to standing, and roll the shoulders back. Woohoo! Nice job, you guys. From here, I'd like you to take your feet to the edges of the mat with your toes pointing forward. And then we're going to come into a yogic squat. So Remember, you can support your weight on your forearms or with your hands on the floor, or if you can, just let your bum drop and let your chest lift. Take a couple of breaths here. And then you can just plant your hands and step straight back, downward facing dog. Stretch, stretch, stretch. From here, those of you that would like a last vinyasa, you may take one. The rest of you can drop to your knees and take a child's pose. And then if you want to, you can do a final Sphinx. Everything is optional, of course. And then let's take one final down dog. And I'm gonna ask you to really commit to this one. Spread your fingers, plant your palms, turn your toes under, push through your hands, reach your hips back, poke your tailbone towards the ceiling, press your heels down, down, down. And then you can walk your feet forward and have a seat with your legs extended in Dandasana. Take a moment. Catch your breath if you lost it. Check in with your body. Check in with your thoughts. And then keep your legs really active and reach the arms up. And as you exhale, lay your torso out over your thighs. So remember when I had you standing at the front of the mat with your arms behind your knees, lifting your chest and trying to straighten the legs. Your seated forward bend should almost feel that way. So you want to make sure you're on your sit bones. You want to imagine that you're poking your tailbone so it's pointing behind you rather than down. You want to keep your rib cage lifted and pulling forward. You want to keep the feet active and flexed and try and have your whole leg really active. It's a different way to forward bend, but it's a good one. So take a couple more breaths here. And then come on up. We're going to keep the right leg straight. Bring that left foot inside your right thigh. Lean out over your right leg and stretch. Now, wherever your hands are, it's a great place for them to be because I'm going to ask you to come into Kranchasana, heron pose. We're going to raise a straight right leg up in the air. So what do you do if your hamstrings are tight? You grab behind your thigh and you let your leg go down, but you keep your leg straight. You lift your chest, and then you try and flex the ankle and toes if you're able. The idea is you do whatever you need to do to get that hamstring stretch, but you try and keep your spine lifted. You don't want to hunch and round. You want to be nice and erect here as you pull that right leg towards you. Take one more breath. And then let's put that right leg back down. I want you to pick your left leg up and bring it across your right thigh with your left foot flat. We're just going to come into a nice deep twist to the left. So lifting your chest, left hand behind you. You can either hug the left knee with your right arm or bring the right elbow or tricep outside that left thigh as you twist and look over your left shoulder. Unwind, extend your left leg out. Bring your right foot to the inside of your left thigh and just lean out over your left leg. From here, wherever your hands are, is usually the perfect place to keep them so your leg can stay straight. We're going to raise that left leg up. Make sure the knee is straight. We lift our chest. Flex the ankle and toes. And if you need to, you pull the leg towards you. Try and have the knee straight. Try and keep your chest lifted. And then we'll go ahead and place that left leg back down on the floor. Pick the right foot up and bring it across the left thigh. Right foot flat. Right hand is behind us. And we just come into that nice deep twist to the right. Unwind yourself, extend your right leg out. Give both legs a good wiggle. And then take your legs into a wide V. Make sure you're on your sit bones and make sure that your legs are straight and your feet are flexed. So even though you're going to feel this more in your inner thighs, your hamstrings are still stretching. So what I'd like you to do is keep your chest lifted. You can either have your hands behind you if necessary, or you can have them in front of you. But we're going to actually push or pull the chest forward. So your gaze should be straight in front of you no matter what. You want to keep pushing the backs of the knees down towards the floor. Keep the heels contacted with the floor, in contact with the floor, and keep your feet flexed. We're going to take about 3 more deep breaths here. And then I want you to keep your legs exactly as they are, but come back up onto the hands. You're going to keep your left hand dead center between your 2 spread legs. Bring your right hand dead center behind you, push into the ground for a straight spine. Rotate to your right. Both legs are still active. Lengthen your chest forward over your right leg. Take 1 more breath here. And then just come up and we switch. The right hand goes in front of us. The left hand is behind us. We lift the chest. We rotate. Both legs are still straight and active. And we lengthen out over our left thigh. Come back into and bring your legs together. Wiggle your legs a little bit. So I have a small challenge for you, just in case you haven't been challenged enough yet. I just want you to know we're going to come back up to sitting, and you'll be able to get there however you need to. But my challenge will be in how we lie down and how we sit back up. So if your standing split didn't go so well, you're going to do one lying on your back. And again, it may not look like a split, but here's what's important. The legs should stay as straight as possible. So here's what I'd like you to do. Lean out over both of your legs, but just grab your right leg. It can either be your right calf or your right ankle or your right foot, but you're just grabbing that right leg. You're leaning out over both of them. Left leg is active. I'm going to try and go slow motion. You may not. It's up to you. But here's what I'd like you to do. We already practiced raising a straight leg in Heron. We're going to do it here too. I want you to raise your right leg up and just see if you can go ahead and recline back with it. Try and keep it straight. If you need to switch your grip to your calf or your thigh, do so. But try not to bend the right knee. I know it wants to. Do your best. And also try and keep that left leg active too. Take a couple more breaths here. You should totally feel this in your right hamstring. So here's where my challenge part 2 comes in, and this may not work for you, and if it doesn't, of course you may ignore me. But if you can, I'd like you to just sit back up with that straight right leg. Throw in a little core work. You don't have to. If you need to roll over and sit back up, that's fine. Once you're back up, you're leaning over both legs, but you're just hanging on to the left one. Either hanging onto your left calf or your left ankle or your left foot, whatever. Leaning out, just grabbing the left leg. Your right leg is still very active and straight. We're going to pick the left leg up and take it all the way back with us. So it's kind of like a split lying on your back. Now, mind you, mine looks nothing like the splits. Yours is probably more beautiful. However, I'm feeling a really great stretch in my left hamstring, and that's really what I'm after. So a couple more breaths here. And then just for giggles, if you can, sit up with that left leg, put it back down, lean out over both legs. And then you can just roll onto your back, hug your knees in, and side to side rock. Now from here, we're going to go into an absolutely true traditional dead bug. So your knees are bent. I'd like you to separate your knees nice and wide. Your arms come inside the knees, flex your feet, grab the arches of the feet from the inside, and then get your lower legs to be perpendicular to the floor. In other words, your heels are vertically stacked over your knees, lower leg is straight up and down. You're trying to pull on the arches of the feet while trying to flatten your tailbone back out. If you're feeling it in your hamstrings, bingo, that's the goal right here. So take a couple more breaths. Make sure you're applying pressure to the arches of the feet and keeping the back stable by trying to put your tailbone back down. And then release that, hug your knees in and rock side to side. I'm going to have you keep your left knee hugged into your chest and extend your right leg all the way out onto the ground. Left knee just hugs in. And we're going to transition this into a spinal twist. So your left arm's going to open out to the left, and you're going to twist over to the right. Now, if you can, your right hand is going to grab behind your left knee or thigh. Only as much as your body allows, with your right hand still grabbing behind the left knee or thigh. Start to extend your left leg, and what you should get is about a 90-degree angle with your legs. If it feels okay, that right hand can slide down and either grab the right calf or maybe even the right foot, or maybe none of those. But you should get a little bit more of a hamstring stretch on the right side, even though you're doing a spinal twist. Take a couple of breaths. By the way, the straighter that left leg is, the more you're going to feel it in your left hamstring. On your next inhale, come on back up. And as you exhale, just hug your left knee in. And then you can bring your right knee up to meet it and rock side to side. Keep your right knee hugged in. Extend your left leg all the way out up to the ground. Just hug that right knee. And then open your right arm out to the right, and we're going to twist to the left. And so once you've twisted, just kind of let your body adapt. If you can, your left hand grabs behind that right knee or thigh, and you keep your hand there. That keeps your body from trying to cheat. If you're able, you begin to extend your right leg. So now your legs are at about a 90-degree angle. If you want to, your left hand can slide down and grab the right calf and the right foot. Doesn't matter, but the straighter your right leg is, the more you're going to feel it in your right hamstring, along with the rotation of the spine. On your next inhale, come on back up. Hug your right knee in as you exhale. Bring your left knee up to meet it and rock side to side. So my recommendation today for your inversion, if you can, is to do plow, which is with the legs up and overhead, like you're trying to touch the floor behind your head. And keep your legs straight. It's the ultimate hamstring stretch. But for some of you, if you've got neck or shoulder issues, that's a bad idea. So if that's the case and you have a block, you can put the block underneath your hips and just stick your legs in the air. Or if you prefer, just lie on your back and pull your legs towards you, and that's enough. You choose. But we're going to be here for about 6 breaths. So if you're able to do plow, get those legs up and overhead, and you want to keep the legs as straight as possible. Gravity will help you. And if you're not doing plow, then you can either just hug your legs towards you with your back flat on the ground, or you can put your block underneath your hips and let your legs float out. Whatever pose you're in, slowly find your way all the way down onto your back. Hug your knees in, rock side to side. And then put your feet flat on your mat, ankles and knees together. Let's do that little breath-centered hip roll. Exhaling, both knees drop to one side. Inhaling, they come up. Exhaling, both knees drop the other way. And inhaling, they come up. Just let those knees drop over with every exhale. So you've got this beautiful, continuous rolling of the hips that's coordinating with your breathing. When you feel like you're even or you're ready, just let your knees drop over. Let the soles of the feet together. Just pause for a moment. Let those inner thighs be relaxed and lengthened. And then on your next inhale, just press your low back into the mat. So you're tilting your pelvis backwards. Holding that while you breathe normally, and this is just to lengthen the low back before we move into Shavasana. On your next exhale, release, relax, let the curve come back into the spine. And again, we inhale, flatten the back, hold it for an exhale, hold it for another inhale. And on this exhale, we release, we relax, we begin to extend the legs. We separate the feet, maybe even wiggle the legs a little bit, make sure the glutes are relaxed, the spine is long, the shoulders are relaxed, neck is lengthening, arms are down below the height of the heart, the palms are facing up, our jaw is relaxed, our eyes are gently closed, our forehead is smooth. And we just take that super deep inhale through the nose. And exhaling through the mouth to relax and soften and just give ourselves over to Shavasana. So we exerted a lot of effort during practice today. This was a challenging practice, particularly for this class. But it's through all of that effort that we find complete surrender. And it's through all of the movements that we're able to find stillness
And so ultimately through sound, we find silence. And then through awareness of what we're doing with our body in space, proprioception, we can then turn inward, interoception. These are the fruits of the practice, ultimately. This silence, this stillness, this inner gaze and awareness of the interior environment. Because when we can truly be aware of our inner environment, we can truly be aware that peace exists there. We can be still, we can be quiet, we can be peaceful. So for the next few minutes, just enjoy this well-deserved stillness, silence, and peace. Begin to feel back into your body. Begin to move the fingers and toes a little bit. Start to deepen your breath. As you're ready, take that deeper inhale, spread the fingers and toes. Exhale through your mouth with a sigh as you relax them again. And then inhale, just stretch and lengthen your body. And exhale and relax. As you're ready, bend your knees. You're welcome to hug them into the chest if that feels good to you or not. And then roll to your right side. And as you're ready, press yourself up into sitting. So we find our same straight and aligned spine that we had at the beginning of class. And we just notice if there have been any changes. We notice if there haven't. We're just observing. And then as you know, we're always balancing energies in yoga. So we just had on Saturday night an incredibly beautiful full moon. And it was still exceptionally bright last night too. So that's a lot of really strong lunar energy. And so we balanced that with some solar breathing. So today we're going to be doing Kapalabhati, which is that really forceful pumping of the abdomen. It presses the air out. When you relax the muscles, the air comes in automatically. So you can think of it as really actively exhaling, but the inhales just kind of happen. So zero effort on the inhales. kind of like our practice, lots of effort for the practice, 0 effort for Shavasana, lots of effort today on the exhale, 0 effort on the inhale. Go as slow as you need to. Make sure that the movement initiates from your belly, not from your face. And we'll just do one good round of this. So this is all through the nose. And I think most of you guys have done this with me before, but go the speed you need to. If you're used to doing the breath, then it's an inhale and an exhale per second. If you're new to the breath, just do whatever you need to do. So straight spine, deep breath in through the nose. Exhale completely through your nose. Again, inhale. And this time, just breathe half of the air out and begin. Take a huge inhale, raise the arms up and overhead with your fingers spread. Exhale, let your hands float down, palms touching in front of the heart. So if you feel warmer, or if your abdominal muscles feel tired, or you feel a little bit more awake and alert, congratulations. Those are all positive effects of very solar-oriented Kapalabhati breathing. And if you don't feel any of those things, that's okay too. Don't worry about it, just kind of notice. So with our palms together, we take a moment in gratitude. Gratitude really for everything. What is there not to be grateful for? Right? So there are lessons and blessings, and either way, it's a good thing. So just take a moment in true, pure gratitude, really, for everything. And then take one more deep breath in. Exhale with a big sigh. We bring our palms together at our foreheads, and this is a reminder to just stay present, to pay attention. We bring our palms together in front of our mouths, and it reminds us to speak our truth. Palms in front of the heart. And this is the reminder to keep our hearts open so that we can experience kindness and compassion and love and share that. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. It's always an honor. Namaste.